So yeah, if you guys just want to sit right there,
Oh.
and then I'll just ask you some questions, or I could just get you sitting here. Maybe sit more in the middle or center,
Oh, yeah.
so that you're both centered in the middle of the couch.
I told him one of my bad jokes.
Yeah.
The one I always liked to was the kid whose name was 6 7/8. And how did they get that? Well, they pulled his name out of a hat.
Yeah, I never liked that one.
Yeah.
How did you and Grandpa meet?
Well, it was the 4th of July, and I was with Judy Reed, and we were at the fair, or the carnival, they called it back in those days. And we were just kind of walking back and forth, and Grandpa got off the Ferris wheel, and he'll tell you his rendition of it. And I still remember, it was like yesterday. He's walking one way, and I was walking the other one. I still remember, because I remember him kind of watching me a little bit. And I'm walking, and I can still remember, should I look back at him or not? So I looked back, and we both smiled. Mm-hmm. And then the next Saturday, we used to go down in the drugstore down on 2nd Street, Main Street, with some friends of mine. And a fixer-upper came in, Mitch Mullivas is his name, and he said, I can fix you up with the next quarterback. And my girlfriends that I shown around with, said, was it Bob? No, Tom Mackey, yeah. So then that summer then, after the carnival though, Grandpa went to Milwaukee and worked for a month or two, and they came back and went to Northland College. And they went to the same church we went to, and then he called me on our first date, October 16th, and that's when we went on our first date. And we've been together ever since. Just married 64 years. I know, it doesn't seem that long.
What brings you the most joy in your life now?
I guess the most joy is just glad everybody's here, but right now just being with family, and Dad and I still are in pretty good health, still enjoy the same things, so I'm real happy.
So what was it like being on a small budget and raising 3 kids?
Well, after we were married in Milwaukee, we had twins, Anne Marie and Diane, and when they were 5 months old, in the middle of the worst storm in a century, we left from there to go to Colorado, where Grandpa got his first master's. And Grandpa worked part-time. Luckily, he worked at Retail Credit, which he'd type up reports. He checked on people taking out insurance, and he got paid 50 cents a copy for that, so that got us through while he was getting his master's, plus we saved money because we both worked. Grandpa got paid once a month. So about the day before he'd get paid, or so it was the weekend, we'd pop popcorn, and then Kool-Aid was 5 cents, so we didn't have any change, so we'd look kind of in the cushions of the couch and get 5 cents. Then we'd take the kids on the stroller and go to the store, which was a block away, and buy Kool-Aid. Then we'd have Kool-Aid and popcorn. We'd have a station wagon, so the girls would sit in the back seat, and we'd have all our luggage, and then Tom would have about this much space for his toys in the back with his trucks. But I was glad that I didn't have to work. I don't know how I would have done it with 3 children. And I was going to school part-time. I went to school I got started out with 2 days a week. And then I had 1 year out in California, 1 year here at KCC, and then went to Western. And then I got my master's at Western also.
And what was your profession?
Well, my undergrad was business education, and I decided to go into teaching because Grandpa was in teaching. I said, I should do this because I'll have the same vacations. Otherwise, I would have ended up, I always wanted to work in a detective office and in the office, so I probably would end up with business, working in some office. And then my master's was in counseling personnel. We enjoyed everything there was about being married, having children. I remember when the girls were small, even in Colorado, before Grandpa would come home from school, he was going to school then, I'd make sure I changed their clothes and put them in the playpen because they were only about a year old, not even a year old. So they all looked nice when he'd come home.
What was it like raising your grandchildren?
Terrible.
She didn't raise them by herself.
Well, that's why they're special to me. My grandchildren couldn't be any nicer to us, to me. And I remember when Denise would bring Bryce over, he was not even a few months older, and she'd have a little cap on him, and she'd come to the back door and drop him off, and then with her frozen milk. And we're still good friends, Josie and Bryce and Blake, and they're so nice to us. Couldn't be any nicer.
So what do you like about Grandpa?
Well, I'll go back to in the very beginning, the way why I liked him, because he's smart, and he was kind of popular in school too as an ex-quarterback. And he's a gentleman. He's a gentleman to this day. He still opens the doors for me, and always tries to please me. And he's really a nice person. I couldn't have married a nicer guy, and we have fun together, and like his sense of humor, and he's always willing to do whatever I want to do. If I say I don't feel like cooking, okay, let's go out. And I think we're lucky to have one another.
So what do you like about your wife?
Yeah, geez, I think she just attracted me. She has the same attitude about getting things done, you know, that my mother did, and she certainly wasn't. Well, she wasn't bashful either. She was natural, you know. She wasn't putting anything on, and I think after all the years that we've had, we've never really had any arguments, you know. It's amazing, and what impresses me is how she adapted herself so easily into what I liked, you know. So she became a good tennis player, and she even skied with me, and just generally speaking, and then of course she reminds me of my mother, because my mother took care of everything in terms of money and investments and so on, and I was just there by the side. I guess I followed in my father's footsteps, you know. When she talks to people, she's honestly interested in people, and she's not putting it on. But Beverly, really, I think it impressed me on how a girl who, when she was in a stage where many of the girls who graduated with her, it wasn't that you'd go on if you were a girl to high school, to college, and to think that she went through a bachelor's and then a master's degree, where most of the women that she graduated with didn't even come close to that. She has a real strong idea of getting jobs done, you know. She's not jealous, and God, I couldn't ask for anything better, really.
Did you enjoy being a father?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I still like to think of when the kids were little. You know, it was so much fun seeing them grow up, you know. And then to the extent that all three turned out to be in jobs that they enjoyed.
So tell us about your education.
I was lucky because the war ended about a few months before I graduated, which meant that I could become, I could go into the Army, and they would give me free education. But see, I got a bachelor's degree, and then I wanted to teach out west, and so I got a master's degree. And then after we came back here, the college here would pay for any classes I take beyond. And so I went on and got a second master's degree from Western Michigan University. But then after I got the second master's degree, I kept getting interested about other things too, well, mainly psychology. But I decided to take courses in beyond my second master's. And actually what happened then is I ended up having what would be a doctor's degree, although I just wanted this and that. It wasn't organized for for a doctor's program.
Would you say overall you've had a good life?
Yeah, really. I think now more and more as I get older, and I'll be 90 in maybe 7 months, I think. But to think that I have my health, but then as I studied the life history, well, one of the tasks I had in teaching psychology was I taught psychology in terms of development from birth over to death. The one for me in old age is integrity versus despair. In other words, some people think back on and they say, geez, I married the wrong woman, I got into the wrong job, and I screwed up here and screwed up there. But everything is positive for me. I married the right woman, I got the right job, I didn't think of it as work. And I had a healthy time. I mean, right now I don't take any pills at all. But as I look backward, all the things that happened to me fit, you know. I had no times that were really, well, the worst thing was having my dad die when I was 15, you know. But I never think of, geez, I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that. But that's never occurred to me at all.
I hear the sound of music, your favorite kind of music, and that reminds me, dear, of you. I see the summer roses, your favorite shade of roses, and that reminds me too of you, dear. If I could hear no music, if there could be no roses, no summer night to make me dream as I do, perhaps I might forget you, but in my heart I know that I need no reminder to miss you so.